Hi, we have always heard about focus. Now, to focus on something, we have to do something before we focus. In other words, if you want to focus here, there are a lot of distractions that happens. So in this particular presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how to get rid of those distractions. So the topic is distractions that kill workplace productivity. So the whole focus is about workplace. If you are a leader, if you have a team with you, or you are a staff member, what should you do to get out of the distraction and then focus on the task that you have on your hands? So let me take you very slowly. So if you look at this, it's been divided into 13. So I'll take you step by step. You can make a lot of notes as well. So if I go to number 1 and open that for you, the very first distractor, if I use the word distractor, is your cell phone and the texting, because most of us, we like to text. And most of the accidents, if I'm talking outside a working environment, most of the accidents happen while you're texting and driving, for example. Now, cell phone and texting, let's see, what are they? Number 1, how can you get rid of those distractors? Number 1, put your phone on airplane mode. That's number 1. Number 2, you may use the do not disturb function, because most of the cell phones today do have that facility or the function, so you can activate that. Number 3 is to place your phone in a different room. For example, if you have a work area and if you are working on a project, make sure that you keep your mobile in some other room so you don't get distracted. Number 4 is to leave it in the desk drawer or your bag if you are a female, or in your purse. So again, you don't get distracted. You don't have to keep it in some other room. You can keep it along with you, but inside your bag or inside your purse. And number 5 is to schedule a specific time throughout the days. For example, let me check my cell phone 5 minutes before I leave for the office, maybe 5 minutes during the lunch break, or maybe 5 minutes before I come back home or head back home. So you can arrange your time and check your cell phone and text only during that period of time. So that's how you can manage your priorities. Let's move on to point number 2. Let's see what are those. Point number 2 is all about the internet. Now, we all are used to with internet. Again, that can be divided into 6. The first one is how you can get rid of it. Block those websites which actually attract you a lot or takes a lot of your time. So block those websites. Number 2, use one single full screen tab. Meaning you should not be having a lot of tabs on the top so that it starts blinking if somebody opens that, or if you get a notification. So you have a tendency to go in and click on that tab. So to get rid of that, keep it single, one single frame or screen. Number 3 is to disconnect your internet connection. If you are working on a project that does not require internet connection, then it's better to disconnect the internet connection or the Wi-Fi so it does not bother you. Number 4 is to set a schedule for checking your social media, just like what we mentioned in the case of a cell phone. You decide what time should you check your internet. And number 5 is also schedule for checking your email. So when you say internet, it could be for browsing. And number 5 is to set schedule for your email, to just browse your email and check your email, because we have this tendency. Number 6 is turn off all alerts or notification. That's what I mean. That's one of the best way, because we all have, or when it comes to habit, the first thing is to get attracted. So once you get attracted with the sound of the notification, automatically we have a tendency to keep the most important function and then turn towards the notification to see who sent an email or is there a message that has come and so forth. So better to switch it off. Let's move on to the third distractor. The third distractor is the gossip. Now, when it comes to gossip, it's divided into 11. Number one, ignore. This is how you can do it. Ignore the gossiper, because there are gossipers everywhere, in the office, in the house, in your friendship circle, and so forth. So the best thing is to identify the individual and avoid that individual. Number two is walk away from the situation. If there is a situation where there is a gossip happening, or backbiting happening, or unwanted talks which has nothing related to productivity, so better is to walk away from that sort of conversation. Number three is don't spread the news you overheard. Now, this is something which happens in the media today. If you get a message, even before you read the message, the first thing that you do is to share it to 10 people. Similarly, in the office, when somebody talks to you, don't take that message and spread it to somebody else. Keep it with you. You should be the final full stop or the final period. That's it. Number four, let's look at number four. Number four is deal with the issue, not with the person. The person might be good, but what he does is not good. So you got to deal with the situation. That doesn't mean the person is bad. What he is doing is bad. So keep it separate. Keep the person separate and keep the behavior and the habits separate. Zero tolerance policy on workplace gossip. If you are the leader of an organization, that is to be very strict that there should be no gossip happening in the office. It has to be zero tolerance. Number six, set an example. What does that mean? That if you are not a person who is interested in gossiping, and you are one to be away from it, people won't come to you and gossip. So you have to set example that you don't like it, you don't entertain it, and you are against it, and you have zero tolerance. Or automatically what happens? People won't come to you and talk about somebody else to you. In severe case, bring it to the notice of the HR, or bring it to the notice of the boss. That's very important. So let the boss know about it, and let the HR know about it. Now the question is, if you were to be the boss of the organization, now it's time for you to have a meeting where you can bring all the team members and talk about it, and do in a professional manner, say that it is no more tolerated. Encourage positive gossip. By positive gossip, I mean to say that empowering talks, inspiring talks, motivational talks, bring people together, have a 5-minute motivational gossiping, or what you call as motivation. Give it a funny name, and give some sort of encouragement and building up your team and so forth. Number 11 is keep your private life private. This is one thing that happens, because I may come to the office and I may speak about what's happening in my private life, and then it goes to the 4 or 5 people, and then it spreads to other people. So get rid of that. Keep your office, and keep your private life completely away from your office. The next one is people interruptions. Now, people interruptions, this could be people, could be your employees, number one, or teammates. It could be your customers. It could be your suppliers, it could be your family members and relatives, and it could be your friends as well. Now, is it possible to keep them away? The answer is yes. If you want to focus on something, then you have to keep them away. Keep your office door closed. So once the door is closed, and if somebody knows that you're there inside, but the office door is closed, so definitely they know that you are having a project, or you're working on a project. Number 2, place a do not disturb sign. That's a very good thing. Or you can say busy. You can have those in, out, and so forth outside the door. You can keep that. Number 3 is wear a headphone. Now, this happens when you're working in a group. There are a lot of people around you, and you're not in a cabin or a cubic cabin, and you are open space, what we call as. Then to make so that others know that you're working on a project, you just keep your headset. It doesn't matter whether there is a song playing or not. Just keep the headset. That would give an indication to the other people that you are busy and you're focusing on something. Number 4 is be honest. If you are working, tell your friends, tell your family members that you are working. And they would definitely appreciate you, and they would definitely respect you. It's because if you don't tell them, then they don't know. They're not aware of whether you're working on a project, whether you're busy or not. Number 5, let's go to number 5. Number 5 is meeting. Again, now, meeting can be unproductive. Now, that is absolutely sure, because I have attended hundreds of meetings, and it does not have a result out of it. So meetings could be unproductive, and meetings can be distracting time sucker. It could take your time because you might be really busy. You got a tight schedule for finishing or wrapping up a project, and that's when you're being called for a meeting. So that could take your valuable productive time. So what should we do when it comes to meeting? Let's look at that. Number one, ask, is the meeting necessary? If you are the boss, ask yourself, is it necessary? Number one, yes or no. If it is no, then you don't have to call for a meeting. Number two, look for options other than meeting. Yeah, can you send a message? Is that okay? And ask everyone to give their opinion on a tool like WhatsApp. You can ask that. You can do that. You don't have to have meeting for every other thing. Look for meeting tools. There are a lot of meeting tools that are available. You look for that, whether you can do that using a tool, whether it can be done not necessarily that it has to be in the office. So you can use the tools, which are the best tools that are available in the market for having this meeting rather than coming all the way to the office. Agree upon no meeting day. Let's say Monday is a very busy day where you have a lot of things to do. So keep that Monday as no meeting, or Wednesday as no meeting day. So identify what is the best day where there is no meeting at all. You will be more productive and focusing on your task. Number five is if meeting is required, only invite critical stakeholders. Don't call everyone. Sometimes you go in the meeting, there are 10 to 15 people and only 2 of them speak, and all the rest of them are just either sleeping or sitting there, either have no clue about why they were called. They have nothing as such. So make sure that when you have to call for a meeting, just call them who interacts in the session, who needs to know, then call them. Otherwise, don't call everyone. Number 6, create an agenda. This is something happens. You go to a meeting and you don't know why the meeting is, even before I go there. So always there is something that you have to remember is do your meeting in your head before you conduct the actual meeting. So if I get an idea, I know how to prepare that mentally before I physically am present there in the meeting. So definitely create an agenda. Number 7, keep it short as possible. If you have a time frame, you got to keep it as short as possible. And number 8 is you have to always stick onto the time. If you say it is 90 minutes, keep it 90 minutes because other attendees might be having some other tasks. So this is how you can manage your meeting. Okay, now let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is messy workplace. Okay, so here we go. Little clutter can encourage a creative mind. Yeah, if you see an artist, you will definitely find a lot of clutters on his desk and around the room, because that gives you an idea. If you're having paper cuttings and so forth, different paper cuttings, these are people who are very creative, artists especially. Messy workplace can affect your ability to focus, and that's for sure. Let's see how we can manage that. Number 1, keep your workplace clean and organized. You need to know exactly where you're keeping those stuff so that you don't have to search for it, because most of the time what we do is we spend our time searching for things. But if you know exactly where you have placed those things, then you will save a lot of time. Number 2, toss out the item you no longer need, because why do you keep those things that you don't need anymore? Just either throw it, dump it, give it to somebody else, get rid of it. Because most of the cases, when you look at the things that you have on your desk, it is 80% of things that you don't require is already there on your desk. But get rid of that 80% and focus only on the 20% of stuff that you actually require. Number 3 is make it a paperless office. Now, what do you mean by paperless office? You can store all your stuff, your documents in your local server, or you can use the cloud rather than having the physical paper on your desk. Number 4 is place paperwork in the appropriate files. Now, if you have paper, if these are documents which are original documents and you have to keep it in a document format, in a physical format, then you got to have its own racking system so that you can file it, or a filing system. And number 5, let's go to number 5. Number 5 is return your office supplies back. If you have a cup of coffee, don't leave the cup of coffee after you had it. Just leave it back so that it goes back to the pantry. So your desk is neat and clean by the end of the day. Number 7 Number 7 is background noise. Now you can hear some background noise from my place because I'm working from home, and I can hear noise from the kids who are playing around. So background noise. If I'm doing this video for an academy in a professional level, then I'll make sure that I cut and edit and so forth and get rid of all those noises that is coming from outside, which I can't control. Now this is a very friendly talk, so even if there's a noise, I don't mind because you don't mind either. So when you go for background noise of people, just like what I explained, and a noisy place, because it could be a crowded place or it could be somewhere where the nature itself is very noisy. So how can we get rid of it? Number 1, if unavoidable, invest in noise cancelling headphones. Now this headphones, that means you can use this. If you use that, even if you're getting noise from outside, you can use that. As I mentioned earlier, if you're in the office and you've got this noisy people, you can keep the headset. Similarly, if there is nothing that you can do, then invest on this noise cancelling headphones. That's number 1. Number two is relocate to a quieter area. If you can't, if it is unavoidable, then you have to move away from there. And number 3, let's look at number 3. There are applications which are available. For example, Noisely. I never used that, but I found that Noisely is a recommended application which you can use, which reduces noise, and you can focus more on the task that you're doing. If you're interested, you can just go and Google it. I didn't use it yet, but it was a new information to me. Number 8 is multitasking. Now, this is something we get wrong. We say that you have to be a multitasker. It's good to be a multi-talented person, but multitasking is not good. If you look on the screen, it says multitasking does not save time. That's absolutely right, because you are juggling things, one thing, the other thing, and the third thing. So it does not save time. Number 2, it says multitasking does not make you more productive. That's absolutely correct, because you are working in different projects. So there is no vertical growth. You are just growing horizontally. So if you want to have a vertical graph, you have to focus on one thing. Let's move on to number 3. It says that it actually slows you down. And that's fact, because you're not growing up, because you're giving your energy and focus on many tasks. So rather than going upward vertically, you're growing sidewise. Number 4, you end up making more mistakes, because there are a lot of things you're doing. You'll end up making mistakes. Multitasking reduces your creative thinking, because for creative thinking, you have to focus on one thing. But here, since you're focusing on many things, your creative ideas and thoughts goes down. Multitasking will potentially damage your brain for sure, because you're focusing many things. Single tasking beats multitasking. Focus on one thing. Make it very crystal clear. Just like you have the bull's eye in the circle, just focus on one thing. With single tasking, you will get more done. And with the single tasking, you will feel more relaxed, because there is nothing else that you have to focus on. You're focusing on one thing, and that makes your life much more easier. So let's look at number 1, one thing at a time. And number 2, decide which frog to eat. Now, the word frog, I like the word frog, though I don't eat frogs, but I like the word frog because this is something which I learned from Brian Tracy. There's a very good book which is called Eat That Frog. Now, what does that mean? Now, you have different tasks which are on your desk. Ask yourself which is the most important and urgent task. You got to finish that in the morning itself. Otherwise, what happens, that task becomes bigger and bigger. It becomes a bigger frog and it will eat you up. So he puts in a very good manner. He said that eat the biggest, the most ugliest frog of that day. Because what normally happens, we eat the smaller frogs, and the big frog gets bigger and bigger, and one day that's going to eat us. That is the task that we have on the table. We procrastinate and we don't touch that at all. It happens to human beings. So what you have to do, you have to eat that. Now, you can see 4 Ds on the screen. Is D1, D2, D3, and D4. D1 is to do, D2 is to decide, D3 is to delegate, and D4 is to delete. What do you mean by D1? To do anything that is urgent and important. Number 2 is D2. D2 are things which are important, but they are not urgent. So you decide when to do it. D3 is things that are important, that are urgent, but they're not important. And therefore, you can ask somebody else to do it for you. You don't have to do it yourself. You can delegate it. And number 4 is to delete anything that is taking your time, focus, delete it. You don't have to touch that and focus on that at all. So now let's move on to number 9. Number 9, it says micromanagement. Oh, this big thing. Now, good to know what is going with your business. For sure, you need to know what's happening around your business. Never be helicopter boss. Now, what does that mean, helicopter boss? A helicopter boss is somebody who just rotates on behind you, on your shoulder. It will create a distraction to the team, because if you're just close to me, I know that my boss is there behind me. Automatically, what happens? My focus goes off. I won't be able to do, and automatically I end up making mistakes. So number 1, create distraction to the team. Number 2 will create frustration to the team. Number 3 will destroy the trust between you, if you are the boss, and the team. Will produce anxiety and will reduce your productivity. So never be a chopper or a helicopter boss standing and micromanaging your team. With macromanaging, that's just the opposite to micromanaging. With macromanaging, you and your team feel more relaxed. That's absolutely correct. Now, what to do? Encourage ownership. That's what you have to do. You should not be going and managing, but encourage ownership. Let them take the responsibility. Number 2, let them do what you hired them to do, because you have a job description, or the JD. So in the JD, it tells what the employee has to do. So make sure that you take the right person so that you don't have to micromanage that person. Number 3 is guide them without interfering in their work. So you can guide them, you can coach them, you can mentor them, you can train them. You don't have to spend your time there. If you go and spend your time micromanaging your team, then you are no more a leader. Now let's move on to number 10. Number 10 is hunger. Oh, that's a physical part. Now, when you talk about hunger, it reminds me about the Maslow's hierarchy, where the very basic is your hunger, your sleep, your shelter, your physical condition, so forth. So that plays a very major role. Number 1, stack your office with healthy snack options. You can go for different nuts or yogurt, fruits, etc. so that gives you more fiber and it gives you more energy to work. If you don't eat properly, what happens? You feel so tired and sleepy and exhausted. Healthy homemade food you can bring from your home, okay, but it should be healthy food. And the third option is you can go for healthy office delivery. There are a lot of home delivery and office deliveries which gives you only healthy food, so you can go for that. Or number 2, you can bring from your home itself. If you can't cook and you can't bring, then carry some nuts with you, yogurts with you, which you can keep in the refrigerator, and then you can have fruits as well. That gives you the energy and the strength to work till the end of your task. Strict policies. Now, that's again a major issue which reduces your productivity. What happens? That's full of stress. Number 2, low productivity if you have strict policies. Number 3 is fear of failure. What happens if I do mistake? Will I be thrown out of the office, out of my job, and so forth? So there's a fear factor which plays a major role. Then you need to understand one thing: punctuality is important. We do agree that if 9 o'clock is the time, you have to punch at 9 o'clock, you have to be there at 9 o'clock. We also have to understand one thing: performance is more important than punctuality. If you are there at 9 o'clock and if you don't perform well, then there is no use of being there at 9 o'clock. So performance takes place more than your punctuality. Number 2, productivity is more important than punctuality. Let's move on to 3, offer a flexible schedule. So what does that mean? For example, if your office time is at 10 o'clock, you may come at 11, but you got to inform that you will be coming the next day at 11 because you have to take your kids to the school or to the hospital and so forth. So inform your team members that you will be 2 hours late. At the same time, by the end of the office, you will also extend 2 hours. So you make up the time, the working time of 8 hours or 7 hours, whatever it is. You make up the time, but you shift the schedule, but keeping informed that you have a email notice or whatever it is saying that you will be coming to the office only after X time, for example, 2 hours later, so forth. Number 4 is work from a remote location. Now, these days, when we have the COVID-19 happening around the world, most of everybody are working from a remote location. So you don't have to, if your office does not require the staff to be at home, let them relax and let them be very productive. And you can have if you want to have a chat, you can come on Zoom, or you can use any other tool where you can have an interaction to ensure that your staff member is working. And end of the day, you just have to look for the productivity. That is, what is the result they bought in, not the time. So most of the companies today are working remotely. That is possible if it is possible for you as well. Number 12 is decision fatigue. This is important because it takes a lot of time. Decision, what to do, what should I wear? Now, if you look here, wearing the same outfit every day. Now, there are people like Sir Richard Branson, or if you look at Steve Jobs, or you can look at Tony Robbins or Mark Zuckerberg, etc. They wear only the same clothes every day. It's the same color. For example, blue jeans and black t-shirt. That's what I see most of these people wearing. So it saves a lot of time. Wearing the same outfit every day, preparing the meal for the week. You prepare it and you keep in the fridge, and then you eat it every single day in a small portion, rather than cooking every single day, which again ask you the question, what should I eat? What should I make? What should I cook? And so forth. So that avoids, takes a lot of your time, so you can get rid of it. Number 3 is delegating tedious responsibility that we spoke about in the D3 earlier. We spoke about D3. D3 is always about delegation to somebody else. If somebody else can do your job, then give it to them. You don't have to do everything all by yourself. Number 4 is automation. Automation, you can use automation for a specific task, which can be automatically done. For example, we've got something called the canned email response. I don't know whether you heard of it. It's a template. So you don't have to write the entire email. This is normally done in customer service and so forth. If you have to write a particular email to a particular customer, you just have to look for the template and you just have to click on the button. And even Gmail has got that facility. You just have to fill in up certain areas and you can just, in one click, you can send that email. For example, we are still working on your case. If that is the response you have to give, you can check what email and so forth. Number 2 is scheduling appointments. There are different types of softwares you can use. On the screen, you can see simply book.me, then 10 to 8, and then comes schedule. These are different tools that you can use to fix your appointment and dates. Let's move on to the last one. Number 13 is celebration and distraction time. What does that mean? Because we all get distracted. We all love to read email. We all love to type and send text. So you keep the time after you have done your task, you just relax and just go and do what you were not able to do during the daytime. So that gives you the relaxation, because as human beings, we have to do that. Just like going for a movie or a theater, or watching, going to your friends and so forth. You didn't do it for 7 hours, or maybe for a week. You didn't do it. So find time to celebrate yourself, maybe with your family, maybe with your friends, maybe going for entertainment with your family, going for shopping. So make sure number 13 is all about regenerating the energy within yourself. So find time to celebrate, plan time for distraction you love. So these are the 13 points. I hope you have taken your notes, and I believe that this will help you. I'm here to serve you. This is Farookh Sensei.